Spider Protector.
Hey everyone, I'm Red.
Remember me?
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
誰だお前は。地獄からの使者スパイダーマン。スパイダーマン。You serious?
I want Spiderman.
Hey, how you doing? Don't worry about it, I got
And
you.
in this video, I'll be ranking and reviewing all 8 live-action Spider-Man movies from worst to best.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
I'm not obsessed with him, I'm just very observant.
But before I jump into this, let me tell you a little bit about my background and perspective going into this.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
I'm 27 and distinctly remember going to see the first and third Raimi movies in the theater as a kid. And I've been a pretty big Spider-Man fan since.
I know, it's great, right?
Another.
He's not my favorite superhero, but he's gotta be up there for sure. So I do have some pretty heavy nostalgia for the old Raimi trilogy, but I've always prided myself on not being a slave to nostalgia and keeping an open mind. These movies are so spread out over different generations of fans, so I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks. So please drop a comment and let's get some good conversations going on down below.
Don't make me come down there, you punk.
I also plan on doing a Spider-Man actor ranking and villain ranking coming out soon.
Badass.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Please like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out.
Join me and together we'll build my new Lego Death Star.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
And if you want to see where I think the Tom Holland films fall in the whole MCU, check out my ranking in the description down below. But let's not waste any more time and jump into this.
Spider-Man.
In last place for me is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This was a pretty easy decision for me personally, but even though this is my clear bottom choice, I still think there's a lot to be enjoyed within the film, especially if you can turn your brain off, but I personally prefer being challenged by a film instead. I feel like this movie by far has the most negatives of the 8 films on this list. The easiest way to sum up this movie for me is a shitty fast food or TV dinner. Everything was rushed and forced in without allowing anything time to simmer naturally. And I'm honestly not sure what this movie's main focus or story is. Afterwards, I asked my wife what the movie was about, and we both just kind of looked at each other and shrugged. It's so bloated and messy. You have Peter and Gwen dating, then breaking up, then getting back together for her to die in what was honestly a great scene, but it lost some impact being in this clusterfuck of a movie. Then he quits being Spider-Man out of guilt and sadness at the end, but then also comes back at the end after a time jump. What? How rushed and stupid. That's at least 2 movies worth of character development right there. There's Peter's PTSD guilt with Ghost Dennis Leary stalking him. You have Peter and Aunt May's strained relationship dynamic with no payoff or real emotion. They continue the mini mystery subplot with Peter tracking down his parents' killers again, just for the reveal that Oscorp is evil. No shit, Sherlock.
My bad, that was a little hard.
I did like the twist with the spiders having Parker DNA, and that's why he got his powers. I always thought that that was just a little bit too convenient that he was the only Spider-Man in this world.
The human DNA that I implanted in the spiders was my own.
They really try to establish his relationship with Harry Osborn, even though it was never mentioned or set up before. And by doing that, we have to play catch up with him as well and do the whole origin story with him dealing with his dad's death and their tumultuous relationship. What a waste of Norman Osborn and Harry. I love their dynamic in the early Raimi films, and it's so disappointing that they didn't just fail to do something new, they failed to do anything at all. Then you have to squeeze in the various board meetings with Harry running Oscorp, and Harry also manages to turn into the Green Goblin at lightning speed way faster than it killed his dad. Shit luck, man. I think the actor they cast in Dane DeHaan is great though. He plays an amazing bad guy. We also get Electro's whole backstory and origin thrown in. He has by far some of the most cringy moments since emo Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3.
Don't you know? I'm Electro.
And don't forget they stuff Rhino in as well, as he starts and ends the movie. Yay. So stupid, especially the way they end on that badass cliffhanger, which was maybe my favorite part of the movie. With the little kid standing up to Rhino till Spidey shows up. If this movie would have slowed its roll and focused on just making a good movie instead of trying to squeeze and set up a whole shared universe, maybe we would have gotten a third film. Gwen Stacy's death was pretty well done. The set piece inside the tower was great, and you could really feel the physical and emotional impact of her head hitting the ground. So intense overall, but the way it was executed was a tad frustrating. Peter told her multiple times that she was in danger, but she never seems to care. It makes me dislike her as a character a little bit, which sucks because Emma Stone is so charismatic on the screen. And like I said previously, the aftermath of her death isn't given time to breathe properly. They montage it past it in mere minutes. Electro's usage in this film felt like a gigantic misstep. I dislike almost everything about his character. He is unoriginal and felt like a horrible Jim Carrey Riddler impression from Batman Begins. I wanted to feel bad for him. He's absolutely unstable and needs help.
Whoa, well, look who's here. Spidey. How was your morning? Protecting everybody. But is someone celebrating a birthday today? That's why you're here. You remember my birthday. What are you doing? You made me a cake? You like that, Spidey? I like it a lot, Max. Good. Because today
It's going to be amazing.
I don't think they took advantage of his cool powers very well either. The most memorable part about him for me is the awful score and music that accompanies him. The rapping background screaming at him is laughable to say the least.
you're so selfish.
Stay with me, Max.
You set me up.
No, I didn't set you
You
up.
lied to me.
No, I'm trying to help you. Let me help you.
This movie's tone is so all over the place, it's kind of jarring at times. They lean really heavy into the serious dark tones, but there's also a campiness that doesn't blend well for me. A lot of the fun energy and quippiness we see in the first Amazing Spider-Man is off here. The whole car chase in the beginning was so stupid I was yelling at the screen.
Mr. Criminal. Hey, my name is Spider-Man. You can call me Webhead. You can call me Amazing. Just don't call me late for dinner. You get it?
Telling Spider-Man to stop fucking around and stop this guy before he kills anyone else or causes more damage to the city. What are you doing, dude? Not a good way to get me to like you as a character. How irresponsible and dumb. They even downgraded the suit compared to the first Amazing Spider-Man. There are some undeniably great moments though, as this movie isn't completely devoid of positives. The action is all pretty top-notch, especially the Times Square and Clock Tower set piece. The tension in both scenes was great. Though I'm not a huge fan of the freeze-frame slow-mo camera work with Electro at Times Square, it takes me out of the movie just a tad. There are some great scenes with Spider-Man doing friendly neighborhood stuff though, like buying medicine while sick.
How much?
You're that spider guy.
Oh, Spider-Man.
And saving a young kid from bullies and leaving some poor criminal webbed up with his pants down. These are the fun, energetic scenes that give the movie life and what make Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man so charismatic.
Wind turbine. You make this? No way. I'll walk you home. What's your name?
Jorge.
Jorge? I'm Spider-Man.
Yes! Yes!
Hey, big guy, quit moving around!
But unfortunately, the writing lets him down big time. I really do believe out of all the actors to play Peter Parker, he is by far the best actor. I think the chemistry he has with the rest of the cast is amazing. I even almost buy him being friends with Harry, and I absolutely love the dynamic between him and Gwen Stacy. But unfortunately, this movie separates the two for most of the film. Overall, I think this film can be very entertaining and there's some really enjoyable moments, but it reeks of studio meddling and feels so sloppy and unfocused that I can't justify putting it any higher than any of the other films on this list. Before I continue, I do want to say that the rest of the films on this list are all really enjoyable to me. I have rewatched all of them multiple times in my life and not just for this video. They all have issues, but I honestly do like them all. Sorry, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Next up for me is Spider-Man 3. I really enjoy many aspects of this film, and I don't think it deserves all the hate that it receives. Is it too bloated with too many villains and subplots? 100%. Is Topher Grace a horrible Eddie Brock? For sure. Is Harry getting amnesia super convenient to the plot? Oh god, yes.
Hit my head. I know that face.
How you doing?
My best friends.
Does this movie have the most dated effects out of all the films on this list? Yep, it sure does. Is the dance scene in the club beyond dumb? Yes, it is. Even 10-year-old me was cringing in the theater. But other than that, I don't think there's a ton of big negatives. I really like Sandman's character and the emotional punch he brings. The action scenes he's in are awesome, especially the car chase and the big fight at the end.
So good.
Although the motivation for him fighting Spider-Man at the end makes zero sense, are you mad he beat you up? You killed his uncle, you jackass. Seems fair to me. I thought you just wanted money for your daughter's surgery. Whatever. But unfortunately, he just doesn't really fit with the plot and feels forced in. It was very unnecessary to change Uncle Ben's killer, but it did fit with the tone of Peter going dark and the themes of forgiveness in the film.
I forgive you.
And speaking of Peter going dark, I personally loved the exploration of it for the most part. It was kind of refreshing to see this goody two-shoes stand up for himself and have some attitude for a change. He even attempts to kill Sandman and Harry at one point. We get to see him call out Eddie Brock for stealing, and I personally love the all-black suit. The effects on it are just hit and miss with so much full-body CGI filmed so close up. Stick to the wide shots, man. The dancing finger gun scene on the street is not great, I will admit, but I can enjoy it. It makes sense given the context of the story and the character at that point in time. He's going crazy and is feeling way too cocky. It's better done than the raindrops are falling on my head scene in Spider-Man 2, in my opinion. It just fits the tone better. But get that jazz number sequence the fuck out of here. Such bullshit.
Now take all this.
MJ is far from great in this film, but compared to Spider-Man 2, she is a joy. But I'll get more into that later. I can relate to her being pissed off at Peter in this film. He's not being a great partner, but to be fair, neither is she, nor has she ever been. I personally think these two are so uncompatible, it is ridiculous. They are never happy together, and it always takes me out of the movies. But you gotta love the silly Bruce Campbell cameo at the restaurant when Peter tries to propose.
I'm sorry, I don't speak.
But this is a French restaurant, no?
We?
Name, please.
Parker, Peter.
Table for two. Pecco.
And Harry's dynamic with Peter in this one is top-notch as always, despite the early amnesia. It was amazing seeing them physically fight. The glider fight early on was superb, and the fight in Harry's penthouse loft is brutal as hell. The way Peter is shit-talking him, calling him Little Goblin Jr. is great.
Stings, doesn't it?
Protected you in high school, now I'm gonna kick your little ass.
And the eventual team-up and sacrifice is so satisfying.
Looks like just in the nick of time.
A couple minutes ago wouldn't have been so bad either.
What are you gonna do?
This thing got any more?
Hang on!
To what?
Go, buddy!
Got her!
Venom wasn't completely wasted here either, in my opinion. I loved a lot of the action with him, and the design was solid. But every time Topher Grace pops his little head out of that suit and speaks, I fall out of the movie. I buy him as the photographer side of Eddie Brock going against Peter, but overall the performance and writing ruins it. And I personally find the two villains' weaknesses hilarious in this one. If Spider-Man would have communicated with the police, they could have hosed Sandman away and blasted noise at Venom. Problem solved. The score is pretty solid, but you can definitely tell Danny Elfman had departed from the series. It's just a little hollow and lacks any epicness, which really sucks because this is the most action heavy of all the Raimi films. Gwen Stacy was cast alright here, she just doesn't get a ton to do besides making MJ jealous. And Joe Jonah Jameson gets some hilarious moments in this film for sure.
Hey, kid, you want a job?
Why would I want a job?
All right, how much for the camera?
$100.
$100 bucks! All right, you little crook.
Film's extra.
Every time he's on screen in this movies, it is pure gold. Although, I think this film is the weakest in terms of comedy on this whole list. There's not a ton of jokes in this one, at least not intentional ones. There's a few so bad it's hilarious moments though, for sure. The story is sloppy, and this is for sure one of the most bloated microwaved films on this list, which is why I have to put it in 7th place. But I still think there's a ton to enjoy in this one. If we focused more on Harry and Venom or Harry and Sandman as big bads, it would have flowed so much better. Up next for me is The Amazing Spider-Man. This movie is very enjoyable in my opinion. There are numerous positives, but before we jump into the good, let's get some of the bad out of the way. This is another origin with a lot of unnecessary big changes because I feel like they wanted to be different, which is good that they didn't rehash the exact same thing, but I felt like a lot of it was better executed before, and they felt like useless lateral moves. The Uncle Ben responsibility line wasn't near as good. It was okay, just not great.
He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things.
Not choice, responsibility.
Uncle Ben's death was so silly I didn't even feel bad. Why would you fight the guy for the gun? Every time I watch this movie, up until his death, I'm just sitting there waiting for him to die, and it kind of takes you out of it. The way they executed the minutes leading up to it was great though, in the convenience store buying chocolate milk.
You have to spend $10 to take a penny. Store policy. But Daddy didn't give you enough milk money today?
It's 2 cents. We're talking about 2 cents.
Just step aside, kid. Really?
Stop! Somebody stop that guy! Hey, kid, little help?
Not my policy.
That was a very solid switch up over the wrestling match we see in the first Raimi film. Much more personal and impactful. I think these versions of Aunt May and Uncle Ben are the weakest we've seen in the franchise though. And the way he was bitten was also so stupid in this one. Why would you walk into a room filled with hundreds of weird ass spiders? I would personally run in the opposite direction. I hate bugs. I do like the fact that he makes his own web shooters though. It adds an interesting element to the film. It was just so much of what we've seen before, just served up in a different way. And I don't think they executed it for the most part. I think there's some absolute highs for the Spider-Man series though within this film. Andrew Garfield makes for an incredible Spider-Man. The skating background worked well establishing him as a bit of a daredevil already. And I love the cockiness he brought as a Spider-Man.
Really? You seriously think I'm a cop? Cop in a skin-tight red and blue suit. Oh, the true scholar, sir. Good thinking, good thinking. Here's the window. Get out the window. There you go, you got it. Whoa.
Crouch! Let me go.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Just let me go.
Anything but knives! Webbing that I developed myself. I don't think you really want to know.
Come on, let me go. Get off, man. No. Come on, let me go. Stop it. Dude, that isn't funny.
It is kind of funny, man. This could have gotten a lot worse. Now hold still. I just did 80% of your job, huh? No one seems to grasp the concept of the mask.
He's super enjoyable to watch. You can tell he's having an absolute blast saving people. Unfortunately though, I really can't buy him as Peter Parker. His attitude and looks, to be honest, don't do it for me. There's no way this guy wouldn't have girls all over him. He's just a little too suave and handsome. I can't buy him as a nerd. I also hate how this version of Spider-Man repeatedly reveals his true identity. I don't know how the whole city or even the whole world doesn't know who he is. The scene in the train along with the basketball scene completely blew his cover. Those are awesome moments, it just goes a little bit too far into stupidity. I think the way they handled the parents' backstory side plot was well done and it balanced within the film well overall. Along with the villain they used here, Dr. Connors was great. I loved his motivation trying to regrow his arm that he lost. It was super easy to get into and understand. But as soon as he transformed into Lizard, he becomes a mustache-twirling mad scientist. I can't comprehend why in the world he would want to turn the whole city into lizard people. Like, why, dude? And how lame we never get any payoff after seeing people start to turn into lizards. He just becomes instantly evil and is easily one of the weakest villains just for that. There's a reason in No Way Home why he didn't have a bigger part. I don't think he adds a whole lot action-wise either. The action he brings isn't very epic and the stakes are lame. The third act with Dennis Leary's Captain Stacy death is pretty emotionally impactful though. I think the character brought a fun little debate on how Spider-Man should operate. I also think Gwen and Peter's relationship in this one is amazing. Their chemistry is absolutely insane. I especially love the scene where he reveals his identity to her. Super cute moment.
Okay. I gotta tell you this one thing. And it's...
What?
I really like Gwen as a character here as well. She brings a lot more than MJ from the Raimi trilogy. I also think Flash was really well done. This is the best version of him for sure. Even though he doesn't get a lot of screen time, I buy him as a bully in high school.
Not today, Flash.
Hey, come on, man. I don't just want to talk.
Feels better, right? Look, your uncle died. I'm sorry. Okay.
I especially love the emotional scene where he comforts Peter following his uncle's death. The action in this one is pretty solid for the most part and filmed well. I especially enjoy the gritty early scenes with him tracking down his uncle's killer and him learning how to use his powers and his coming of age story. This movie, especially early on, definitely goes for the darker, more serious tone, and I think it works fairly well at the end of the day. And I also think the suit in this film is among my favorite in all the movies. I love the slick look they give him and the black eyes are awesome. All in all, I think this movie is very solid. I just have some small issues overall that keep me from completely loving it, but I would still be down to rewatch it anytime. Please let me know down below whether you would put it higher or lower, and if you could include some reasons why, that would be awesome. In sixth for me, I hate to say it, but it's true, Spider-Man Far From Home. I've seen this movie several times, and every time I watch it, I try so hard to buy what's happening plot-wise, but I just can't. The idea of Tony giving Peter the glasses so soon is just ridiculous. Why not Pepper Potts or anybody else? He's way too young to have that much power, Tony. We just went over this in the last movie. Are you joking? The thematics of him taking over the mantle is well done though, as the pure at heart new possible leader of the Avengers. It hit me hard emotionally, especially the scenes with him building a new suit, with Happy at his side. Although I don't think it's going to happen in the future, I think Sony is going to steal him from Disney yet again. I loved what they did with the big blip time jump. It added some really interesting elements to the film, and some great relationship dynamics that were honestly really relatable. My biggest issue by far is Mysterio's plan doesn't make any sense long term. Attaching holograms to drones is a little bit ridiculous. If one Avenger or superhero or the military, if anybody shows up to stop you, you are just screwed.
William, I've got drones breaking formation.
Yeah, maybe they had a flock of birds or something. You're fine.
Well, I want to see what's happening there. I'm taking pictures.
You got me?
It's way too much for me. I can never get into it. I do love Jake Gyllenhaal and his performance he gives though.
Fire all the drones now!
He does sell it. And even though we've seen the character's background and motivations before being scorned by Tony, I think they did it well here, and it was a good way to bring Tony back after his death in Endgame. Spoiler alert. The action is really good, but it's not that engaging watching Spider-Man fight drones personally. It lacks any grittiness or weight to the punches. I get Mysterio makes illusions, and the visuals were great, but there's so much CGI and some of it is cartoonish at times. But the final battle is a lot of fun, with Ned, Flash, MJ, and Happy joining in on the action. I love that we get more Happy in this film. He's a joy to watch.
Who are you? I work with Spider-Man, okay? You gotta get on that jet.
You work for Spider-Man?
I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man.
I'm in love with Spider-Man's aunt. We're sharing, right?
Give me the spear. That's a helper.
And Flash is also improved in this film, with him still hating Peter but loving Spider-Man. It's kind of hilarious.
He protects the neighborhood and, you know, he's inspiring. He inspires me to be a better man. Sup, squad? Thought you drowned.
He's not just an immature, annoying dick here. I mean, I guess he is, but they add more to him than just Penis Parker over and over and over.
I saved us, guys!
If you saved us, then why are we about to die?
I also really like MJ and Peter's growing relationship in this film, and I think it's well done. They have cute on-screen chemistry, and I love the actress who plays MJ. It was a bummer seeing Ned and Peter separated for so much of the film with Ned's new girlfriend, but it was pretty well done, so I can't complain a whole lot, and the payoff was kind of hilarious at the end with them just splitting, because, you know, that's what high schoolers do. I just love their chemistry and wish he had a bigger role. He would be my guy in the chair anytime. I really want to see him in a Matrix movie on the keyboard reading the screen as the guy in the chair. I do really enjoy this one though, and it has one of the best post-credit scenes with Spider-Man's identity being revealed.
Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker. What the?
That is a crazy way to end the movie, and it kind of pays off in the next film. We'll get into that a little bit more later, along with the twist of Nick Fury being off-planet. It makes sense given he lets Mysterio walk right over him. It clears up one of my original biggest issues with the film, and it adds a cool rewatchability looking for the hints. The humor is among the top on this list, but it can also be really hit and miss. The camera falling in the water joke is so stupid. I want to fast forward through it every time. I do laugh at like 50 jokes here, but the other 50 that don't land really bring it down. The Elementals are a really cool little like side villain, but it kind of sucks at the end of the day that they're just fake. So all in all, I really like this movie, but I just can't get into the plot, and that really holds it back for me. If anyone watching this knows how Mysterio's plan was going to go forward and how it was going to work long term, please let me know down in the comments. I am so curious, and honestly, it would clear up a lot of issues, and I would love to put this movie higher. Next up on my list is the first movie in the Sam Raimi trilogy, Spider-Man, from 2002. This may not be the most exciting or action-packed movie on this list, but I think it might be the most well-paced and tightest movie overall. The film has the luxury of not having to set up or include a zillion different things. It tells a tight origin story that feels like it can easily stand alone on its own. It's kind of refreshing, especially given the current state of comic book movies that we have today, of there having to be a setup for everything and everything and everything. Tobey Maguire might not be the best Spider-Man, but he absolutely nails Peter Parker, which is kind of honestly more important to me. He's so nerdy and easy to root for as the underdog. I love the transformation scenes with him realizing and experimenting with his new powers and gaining confidence.
Yeah, big change.
Well, hurry up!
It felt like a real transformation. And it leads to some truly laugh out loud scenes, especially if you play with the subtitles a little bit.
Go, Web! Fly! Up, up, and away, Web! Shazam! Go! Go! Go, Web, go!
Va, ragnatela! Vai! Su, 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 su e via! Zaboom! Va! Va, ragnatela, va! 往出！飞呀！蛛网快快飞出来！快变！出！出！出！蛛网出！
This movie made me really desire a prequel telling Tom Holland's Spider-Man origin story. If done correctly, it could be amazing watching his character go through some of these things. I would still be down to watch it. Especially now that he's established himself enough, I'd be down to go back in time while he still looks young. I think the way he was bitten in this one is superior to the Mark Webb version. It was a lot more natural and could actually happen to anybody. He didn't need to be special or anything going into the events. This film really captures the friendly neighborhood New York City feel the best of all the films. I really love the bridge scene with the pedestrians throwing shit at Green Goblin.
He's gonna make it! He's gonna make it! Come on up here, tough guy! I got a little something for you! Spider-Man alone! You gonna pick on a guy trying to save a bunch of kids? You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us! Yeah!
It's an element all the films have included at least a little bit, and next to the train scene in Spider-Man 2, this is my favorite example of people helping the Spider-Man that we all love. I think this film has by far the best score out of any other film on this list. It's original and it's so iconic and screams Spider-Man. Big props to Danny Elfman, the Pumpkin King.
The Pumpkin King. I am the Pumpkin King!
And I also absolutely love the balance this film finds in telling Norman Osborn's origin as well. He's a truly fascinating character, especially when he's bouncing back and forth between the Goblin and his humanity.
You killed them.
We killed them.
Performance enhancers. Bingo. Me.
William Dafoe is so incredible. And the relationship with his son, Harry, is superbly done as well. So subtle and dripping with character background and motivations. It sets up all the movies to come without feeling forced in.
So good.
I just wish he wouldn't have died quite so soon. I would have loved to see him pop up again in future movies as more of a, ghost.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
But I don't think he brings a ton of tension as a villain in this movie. He basically just wants to hunt down people who wronged him. So just don't piss him off and I guess you're good. The second half of the movie is basically him fucking with Spider-Man in different set pieces.
Now shoot! No!
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spouts. Down came the goblin and took the spider
My
out.
favorite casting in this movie, even though there's so many amazing ones, is by far Joe Jonah Jameson.
You serious?
He's so perfect and gives it all as a little human villain for Spider-Man and Peter's boss, and I absolutely love the scene where he refuses to give up Peter to the Goblin.
Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man? Me too. I don't know who he is. You are useless.
Surprisingly noble, sir, and it adds so much to his character, and it makes you like him a little bit. Uncle Ben's death was pretty well done in this one. I just think the impact was taken away with us not being present for the moment he was actually shot. This movie also has some incredible, memorable extras, and you gotta appreciate a movie making the extras stand out. The action and effects both hold up pretty well here, especially with this movie being made in 2002. The only moments where I was taken out of the film visually was the Green Goblin suit. Very 90s Power Ranger-esque. It makes zero sense that the military would use this as a design. No wonder you lost your funding, Norman. The scene on the bridge and the building fire are action highlights for me. Where it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me, though, is Mary Jane's character. She's cast pretty well, but the way she's written is absolutely horrible. She's so unlikable in the Raimi films, but I will give her credit she still sucks. The way she bounces around men drives me crazy. She's constantly toying with Peter's emotions. Little tip, MJ, if you want Peter to make a move, quit being unavailable. A shy guy isn't going to try and steal you away, especially from Flash, the school bully, or his best friend Harry. What a bitch move going out with Harry just to make Peter jealous. Throughout the whole movie, there's this whole weird love triangle that's easily the worst part for me, especially in the second movie, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I also think the humor isn't the sharpest here. It's a little bit dated and campy at times, especially when it comes to the Goblin.
It's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
And you can't forget about that incredible Bruce Campbell cameo as the ring announcer. Yes, I'm going to mention every Bruce Campbell cameo. He is the king.
The Amazing Spider-Man!
Name's the Human Spider. I don't care, get out. No, he got my name wrong.
But all in all, I think this movie still holds up well even after all these years. It tells an unbelievably tight, focused story that's very enjoyable in my opinion. If you can get past the slightly dated feel in areas, it's a hell of a fun time for sure. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree. My next pick is Spider-Man 2. This is probably the most thematically mature film on this list. It's by far the movie that focuses on Peter Parker's side of the character the most. And because Tobey Maguire plays that side of the character so well, it's a pretty satisfying journey to go on with him. It does a great job at putting us in the shoes of Peter, making us feel the impact of his decision to put everyone else's needs first and to solve everyone else's problems but his own. It focuses a lot more on the emotional character side of things and a lot less on the action, so it can be a little bit slow at times. I do think this movie has probably the most badass dynamic set piece on this list, with the Doc Ock train fight. So much fun, and the way it ends with Spider-Man stopping the train and passing out is so incredible. I love all the people carrying him and promising not to tell anyone. It sends shivers up my spine, to be honest.
We won't tell nobody.
Damn straight you better not tell anyone. He just saved your life, man. This movie also builds off its predecessor really well, especially the relationship between Harry and Peter. So tragic watching these two butt heads. I must admit though, I don't love Spider-Man losing his powers for such a big chunk of the film, but it makes sense thematically and it's well done, and it's kind of done in spurts so it's not too overwhelming. And it leads to a heart-pumping scene with powerless Peter rushing into a burning building to save someone, and the look he gives afterwards when hearing that he accidentally left someone behind is so powerful. One of the best moments in the whole franchise for sure. Aunt May is also at her very best in this film. I love the scenes with her and Peter talking. She's such a good mentor, and I really feel how much she cares for him. And the back-to-back scenes of Peter confessing to Uncle Ben's murder and Aunt May forgiving him, then convincing him to be Spider-Man again, so powerful. I fucking love it, you guys. The effects are much improved over the first, and I think this movie blends practical with CGI so well. Doc Ock is the best example of this. The mechanical arms look so good for 2004. He's also very well developed and a sympathetic villain. I can feel the pain he is going through. He's not just evil, you can understand his perspective. My favorite villains are the ones that believe they are the hero in their own story, and he definitely qualifies for that here. And the way he chooses to be good again at the end of the film and sacrifice himself is incredibly well done. Another wonderful scene is when he wakes up in the hospital to the destruction his arms have caused. The camera work is so great. It feels so intense and gory without a drop of blood. I think this movie also has the best opening credits. It's done in a really cool comic book style. The humor is slightly improved on compared to the first Raimi film, but it's still among the weakest overall when compared to the other films on this list. There's a few solid laugh out loud moments.
It rides up in the crotch a little bit too.
How'd you do that?
Work out, plenty of rest, you know, eat your green vegetables.
That's what my mom is always saying. I just never actually believed her.
Whoa! He stole that guy's pizza!
Probably my biggest issue with this film is how bad the characters actually communicate with each other. Peter, just tell Harry the truth about his dad.
There are bigger things happening here than me and you.
Or tell MJ that you literally got ran over and that's why I'm late to your fucking stupid play. It's stupid writing that only services the plot and not the actual characters. It sets up a dope Bruce Campbell cameo though, as he plays a security usher dude at the play. But by far, my biggest complaint is Mary Jane's character. She is written so horribly, and I find her presence throughout this film nauseating. She tries to make Peter jealous by getting engaged and damn near almost gets married. I feel so bad for her fiance left at the altar. And there's a scene at the end fight between Doc Ock and Spidey where she almost gets crushed by a wall till Spidey catches it and she just stands there for like 12 seconds, frozen, while Spider-Man is clearly struggling to hold this thing up. Oh my god, fucking move. I was yelling at the screen to move. Oh, like, that doesn't happen very often for me, you guys, where I'm like, oh my god, fucking do something. Mary Jane, you made me do that like a few times while watching you this past week. She is such a selfish attention whore, it drives me nuts. She kind of ruins the very end of the film for me with the go get him tiger line, but only because the nasty look she gives Peter as he swings away. If you took her out of this movie, this one might be higher on my list, but I still thoroughly enjoy this film. Mary Jane can just fuck off. Coming in next on my list is Spider-Man No Way Home. Similar to the second MCU Spider-Man movie, I feel like this movie has some incredible highs, but also some real lows in the Spidey franchise. But let's start with the positives. As a big Spider-Man fan and having seen all the previous movies multiple times, I got a ton out of this film. It's dripping with memberberries. I personally love all the cameos and callbacks and find them super satisfying. I love seeing all the big bads and different Spider-Mans show up. Watching Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up made me giggle like a little girl.
I just wish we could see Peter. No, it's okay, I'm a nice guy.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Peter Parker.
That's not possible.
I am Spider-Man. Prove what?
That you're Peter Parker.
I don't carry an ID with me, you know, it kind of defeats the whole anonymous superhero thing. Why'd you do that?
I was trying to see if you have the tingle thing.
I have the tingle thing, just not for bread. Can you not throw the bread again?
Crawl around.
Crawl around?
Yes.
No.
Yes, crawl around.
How do I stick to the ceiling?
Do it.
And I think it led to an awesome third act that was epic, emotional, and funny. The scenes with the three Spideys talking is absolute gold.
God, this is so cool. So you, like, make your own web fluid in your body?
I'd rather not talk about this.
No, I don't mean to...
Are you teasing me?
No. He's not teasing
I did, actually. You said that. I was like, oh, I had a web block.
Whoa, why?
Existential crisis stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me started on that.
An alien made out of black goo once.
Oh, no way. I fought an alien, too.
I want to fight an alien. I'm lame compared... Like, I fought a Russian guy in a rhinoceros machine.
Where they're discussing their past trauma, building over how different but similar they are. I love seeing the three of them swinging around. This film has by far the best overall action in the whole series with its epicness. The scenes with Tobey's Spider-Man stopping the glider and Garfield's catching MJ are both emotionally so satisfying in this movie. There's honestly too many to list. This video is already going to be way too long.
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
And the learning curve of them figuring out how to work together is incredible. And the realization Tom Holland's character comes to of, oh yeah, I'm in the Avengers, I know how to work as a team, is kind of dumb, but also kind of great at the same time.
I don't know how to work as a team.
Me neither.
Well, I do. I have been in a team, okay? I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
Is that a band? Are you in a band?
No, I'm not in a band. No, the Avengers is Earth's finest. How's this helping? Look,
The way they bring Doc Ock in is incredible, as well as Green Goblin, Electro, and Flint Marko, and all of them. They all brought a nice dynamic, some for better, some for worse. For example, Electro was great and much improved on, but if we're saying this is Amazing Spider-Man 2 version, then you're way off. Just a small nitpick though, as it's so much better than what we had in the previous films, it would have just been kind of funny to see the MCU translate that accurately. Flint Marko's relationship with Peter is perfect, building off the end of Spider-Man 3. He's no longer really a bad guy, so big props there. And Norman's human sympathetic side is ramped up while also bringing the crazy and upping the action. They make him so much more menacing, and in this one he actually feels like a threat. I love the fact that he's the one who kills Aunt May. I can totally see a lot of people not enjoying this one though, as it relies so heavy on nostalgia. So much so I think that they undercut most of the emotional scenes in this movie, especially with Aunt May's death. I thought it was done pretty well, but it could have been great. I don't think they needed the "with great power comes great responsibility" line.
You have a gift. You have power. And with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
I wish they would have came up with something original. It's been how many years since that was originally written? Like, I love the line, but come on. That was Uncle Ben's thing, man. As soon as she said it, I was instantly like, oh fuck, now she's gonna die. God damn it. And I really do feel like it takes away from the Uncle Ben character. Another example of why I want to see a prequel of wish we got an origin for this character. I love her character, especially in this film, as she actually feels like a mentor and motherly figure. I think this is by far the best performance Tom Holland gives, especially after her death.
What are you doing, May? Please, will you just wake up and talk to me, please?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Come out right now, or we will open fire!
So emotionally rich. It was a ton of fun seeing Ned show off his sorcery skills in this film. It really cracked me up. And I love the realization he has when he realizes that all the other Spider-Man best friends went evil. I really can't wait to see where that goes. Are we going to see like an evil Ned? Because that would be awful, but awesome. Not gonna lie. I like how Doctor Strange steps into that mentor role a little bit for Peter. Their chemistry was executed pretty well, and I love the fight scene between them. The ending of the film was so impactful and left me on an emotional beat. The sacrifice Peter had of having Doctor Strange wipe out everybody's memories of him was so tragic and heartbreaking. I pray they continue this series and we get to see what happens from here. I do hate how Tom Holland's Peter Parker is really dumb in this one. I feel like those bell gongs he took in the head in the last film made him lose some brain cells. He's getting more immature as these films go on. When Doctor Strange is casting the spell and he keeps adding to it is so childish, which I get, he's young, but come on, man. As mentioned, the nostalgia can be confusing. I recognize that, but I really do personally love it, and I get all of the references. But let's get into some negatives I have for the film. In the end, where they come up with all the serums to fix all the villains is so stupid. If it was that easy, why haven't you guys just done that in your previous movies and universes? The identity reveal of Peter Parker being Spider-Man to the world and everyone hating him is so over the top. Like, you do remember that everyone kind of loves me and I help save the world and I'm like good and pure of heart, and you really can't tell me that anybody believes Mysterio. There was so much evidence left behind. Like, what the fuck? Are you joking? And all the other films, the little people love Spidey, and it really is disappointing to see them not do that in this film. Like, you're doing something different, but I don't like it. So all in all, that's why this film is my number 2, but I could honestly see this one going up in the future as it's the movie that I have seen the least amount of times. That means in first place for me is Spider-Man Homecoming. Probably my favorite part about this movie is Tom Holland's performance of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. This has to go up there as one of the best castings, honestly, ever. I buy him as both the web slinger and the nerdy outcast. This is one of the funniest movies in the MCU and the Spider-Man franchise, in my opinion. The action is amazing. It all feels very personal, and the punches have impact. The set piece at the Washington Monument was gut-wrenching. I'm not scared of heights, but I could feel how high up he was. And the sequence on the boat is great with Iron Man showing up as well. Iron Man was used perfectly, and I loved what he brought to the film, being Peter's mentor. This movie is very small scale when it comes to the MCU, but in terms of Spider-Man movies, this one is up there behind No Way Home. It builds off of Civil War and Endgame and sets up Far From Home really well. And as I've said before, I love Ned, and especially in this movie, he brings a great innocence as the guy in the chair. And the scene where he learns Peter's identity and the shenanigans that follow with all the questions are honestly great. I think the high school setting was really pulled off as well, and they gave the movie a very unique feel in the Marvel universe, and I really like it for the most part. The tone and humor can be a little bit hit and miss, but it makes sense within the movie. There are also some really great emotional moments in this one for sure. From Tony taking Peter's suit to him finding his own inner strength to stop the Vulture, who was also a really memorable villain within the Spider-Man catalog. He's small stakes, but they build him up really well with his character motivations. He's yet again another villain scorned by Tony Stark, but I honestly think he is the best example. So relatable overall, and I honestly might do the same thing he did. The way everything was basically stolen from him was awful. He poses a great threat for Spider-Man, and the twist reveal of his larger identity was excellent. The final battle is engaging, and you can feel the weight of the action, and the fact that he didn't sell Spider-Man out in the after credits was so great. I love the moment where Peter's looking in the water and has to lift the rubble off of him. It makes me honestly want to go punch something and work out. I really like the fact that this is the only movie where the cast actually looks like kids. It's about time, man. I'm like, how hard is that to get some high school extras? Like, do we really need 30-year-olds running around high school? Like, come on, dude. I'm mixed on the advanced suit, though, in this movie. It works well, but I felt like it was a little bit too much soon, especially given that this is the first movie that we see this version of Spider-Man. And honestly, the character of Spider-Man works better in a grounded setting. My negatives for this movie are I don't think MJ was used super well, and I don't think Liz was the best love interest, and I wasn't emotionally invested in her storyline. I feel like she was there to set up the big Vulture reveal twist, and I guess it did work really well. And I definitely didn't see it coming, and it was set up in the first scene of the movie, so props there. And she's still, though, better than Kirsten Dunst. I'll take Liz over Sam Raimi's MJ any day. And it was kind of funny how MJ kind of just hid in the background and nobody really knew it was her till the end. She's fun, she's spunky, and a little bit rebellious, but still smart. She really reminds me of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. They could really be brother and sister in a different universe. All in all, I don't think this movie is perfect, but it's got a really tight plot, and there's not a whole lot of negatives I can honestly say about it. The comedy can be hit and miss with the immaturity, but it fits the tone for the age of the characters, so I have to put this one in my #1 spot. Let me know your own thoughts down in the comments. Let's get some good conversations going on, and please consider liking and subscribing if you don't want to miss out on any future comment. It means the multiverse to me, you guys. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep it classy.